SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to this 26th session of Ergonomics for Beginners Industrial Design Perspective under module number 5, that is behavior and perception. The current session is the 26th class, cognitive aspects and mental workload and its design relevances. Now, last class gist, we perceive a structured world in a meaningful way that we have discussed in last class. And while talking to performance, we mentioned that information input, processing and speed and accuracy, users' basic instincts and past knowledge versus semiotic application of information and message. The third point we discussed, design relevant aspects of information process capabilities and accordingly design practice. Under the cognitive ergonomics aim and application areas, we mentioned about the understanding users characteristics, and within that the specific points are cognition, that is the learning, behavior aspects, performance, reliability, memory, that is long term and working memory, etc., the perception, attention and mental workload, situation awareness, decision making, that is including diagnosis and choice, where learning and error is an aspect that we need to consider. So, within this, some of the topics we have discussed in details and some of the topic we would highlight in today's discussion. Within the cognitive ergonomics, the today's session is cognitive aspects and mental workload and its some design applications. The engineering design and cognitive psychology, with that the image and concepts, that is word, are important representations during design. So, in this some issues are coming up, that is, what is the relation between internal representations within our mind compared to external representations like sketches and etc. That is how the links are maintained and how they behave each other. What is the importance of physical models in this context? Whether the only sketch or its physical model also required to perceive the inner meaning of the design. External representation in engineering design process is the role of the various kinds of representation different in distinct phases of design, as for example, conceptual design compared to embodiment design. What is the specific content of the different forms of representations? Which kind of representation best supports the creativity? These issues are the external representation in the engineering design process. Now, acting in engineering design. Which items are influencing the steps and the stages of acting in design? How can we support a target oriented process? Now, analysis of problem solving in design. How can we measure the external as well as the internal effort of a specific process when acting as a problem solver? What are the characteristics of individual and team oriented design process? Now, the cognitive outsourcing. Within this cognitive outsourcing, what is the role of computers within design process? Do we lose creativity when working with computer systems? Means our thought process and etc. is guided by limitations of a system for thinking ability of ours. What are the characteristics of computer system to support our creativity? So, these issues we need to sort it out, then our design thinking, ideas and etc. it will be proper. Now, we can say that pleasure with product and joy in use. To establish this, we need the acceptance by all serious contenders of usability as a central measurement, and according to Maslow's hierarchy of need, it leads to a desire for the next, which raised the issue of usability and beyond, a holistic view of the human product interface. Do not think usability alone, think joy in use. If we just only a product is usable, but if we do not find joy while using it, then we may not feel good about it. A pen can write, but if I do not like to write with this pen, that is that joy, then the usability means it can write, functional reliability is perfect, but still we will not be satisfied with this product. This take ergonomics and designers reinventing their particular wheel with their rules. Ergonomics plays roles of to establishing the need, what is need based on human information, and designers can apply those things in a applicable product, so that the product will be well accepted by the users and it will be compatible with the users capabilities, limitations and requirement. Now, what is pleasure? Pleasure is a feeling of satisfaction, and joy the sensuous enjoyment as an object of life. So, now for this some queries, if we can satisfy, then design would be good. Like when a design works, why does it work? What are the factors are relevant for this? How can we ensure that the next different product will inherit the magic factors? Poor design as a descriptor is as likely to mean I do not like this, the design aesthetic, as it does not function very well. The process whereby usability has moved from being a satisfier when present to being a dissatisfied when absent, and this is similar to the position of aesthetic considerations in their broadest sense. In this image, it says that everybody is happy or motivated to see this paper. This paper means media image should be positive to motivate. Means there should be some facts, some factors that people should feel to use it, should feel to possess it, and also at the same time feel to share the pleasure among others. So, that would be the fact. Now, how to develop that thing? How to make this a set of psychological features we need to satisfy while deciding design features. Now, sensation and perception, if we see how it actually does take place, then we should see that human brain, it has some specific space for specific purposes. The primary sensory receiving areas like visual, auditory and somatic etc., of the central cortex and other important landmarks and areas are like this. Now, sensation perception, that all sensory systems extract information about 4 characteristics of simulations. What are the 4 characteristics of simulations? Number 1, the stimulations are: number 1, the sensory modality and submodalities, as for example, touch as opposed to pain. Number 2, the stimulus intensity. If the stimulus is more, its effect will be accordingly. Number 3, the duration of the stimulation. If it is short span stimulation, we may ignore it, and its isolation, whether different stimulations are presented together or in isolation, how we can have selective selection of those stimulations. That specific input we need to know and practice accordingly. Every system has receptors who are responsible for sensory transductions or conversion of physical stimulus energy into electromechanical energy in the nervous system. So, a specific threshold of input is necessary come out from the product itself. Like if we see the schematic diagram of sensitivity and brain activity, like this is a schematic diagram. Suppose a stimulus input is going maybe through eye, nose, as smell, ear or other some touch kind of thing like that, and maybe some taste. So, a group of gray cells in our brain, it takes first, then it distributes to certain figures, to certain cells. Just see that these red colored cells are inhibitory purpose, the blue are the positive and this one for the other different purposes. Now, if the stimulus it gives, if it rises to a certain limit, it triggers this one. Then, if this red one is gets stimulated, then the total intensity it reduces to this second one, and finally, it acts as a negative effect on a final active cell. If this thing is in a certain limit that it should trigger this one, that is excitatory inputs, then it aggravates and then finally, it acts as a positive input like this way, or sometimes what happen other mixed activity some cells group, it controls the negative and positive way, and likely a resultant effect, that is balanced judgment, it comes out as a controlled output, and accordingly a controlled action takes place. Now, this stimulus input, the intensity and etcetera, it depends what would be the output amount. Like if it is a very small amount, then it may have a judgment of neglecting its presence. If something is, if the stimulus is in such a manner that it needs to draw your attention, then that type of controlled output also will be like this way. So, with this type of feeling, we can say that attention is not some cognitive skill or process additional to other aspects of cognition such as perceiving, memorizing or thinking. Rather, it is the act of engaging in these mental processes. Our degree of alertness seems not to affect how much attention we have, but how effectively we distribute it. When we observe TV or read something, we are conscious about all details of the surroundings, but something gets more share of our attention, which split the content of our consciousness, that is peripherally aware and focally aware, on which deliberate attention is paid. Now, the conscious and unconscious information processing about this, we must consider the diurnal variation. It is degree of alertness is not constant. Diurnal rhythm have influence on our performance. In the morning, if I see something, the way I would react, at the evening I see the same thing with my other tiredness and etcetera, I may react in different way, and in the day something like that. So, the design, when to use it, that is context specific time and duration, it does matter. Now, the reaction time, after seeing something, that stimuli goes in judgment and the final outcome as an activity, what is the time taken? That is the reaction time. If we can reduce this time, is to see the material thing and to react upon it, the design dependence or design acceptance or better acceptance lies on this aspect. Like one example, normally when we write or we do some symbolic thing in a italics way, in a normal font is written, and suddenly if something is in italics, it draws our attention. It is said that capital letters and small letter is easier to go through, because it has links one after another. Now, if we write some numericals like 47, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50 like this way. So, in this case, if a series, and suppose we are presenting so many slides and the slide numbers are like this way. So, then what happens? This 4, 4, 4, 4, we may have little low value thing and high value is this one. So, that I can concentrate on this, and then 51, 52 like this. Or if it is like this, that 22 number of slides out of 35 total slides number, then like previous slide may be 21 of 35, then previous one 20 of 35, and the next one will be 23 of 35 like this, where this 20, 20, 20 this we do not need to know, but this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 these are more important at this moment. So, then this should be more highlighted. These type of things. Another thing, for a slide presentation, if we have a bar, running bar, and then suppose this is a suppose in this presentation there are total 35 slides. Suppose in this 35 slide, suppose if this is the 1 and this is the 35. So, we can say that where at this current moment the presentation is on. So, this moving bar it can give you a relative time things. So, by this way the understanding of the fact, the matter going on, that depends. So, now how cleverly we can use this, so that the specific attention to be given to a topic is our excellence. So, consciousness and attention, among all other cognition activities, these two are intimately linked. The consciousness is that to which we are paying attention. Degree of alertness varies as a function of several quite different factors. Other mental faculties are on when we see football match or holding a conversation, committing something to memory. May psychologists have equated the most prominent current contents of a person's consciousness, whether these contents might be, with what necessarily the individual is attending to, what is in the forefront of our consciousness is that to which we are paying attention. Now, the perception and detection of as decision making. Human being creates representations of the visual world like maps, which represent the landscapes in brains and are interpreted and active behavior. Like the perception, distortion of object or figure or picture or abstraction is difficult to recognize, that is object recognition, until its identity is known about perception. Now, detection as decision making, like conceptual approach, that is distinguishes three levels in the understanding of any information handling system, that is a function, mechanism and algorithm, how the mechanism performs the function, the conceptual steps in the process of transforming the image to object recognition, size and distance, motion perception, self motion and object motion. These are the issues of detection as decision making. Like this figure, it says that now it gives a pleasure feeling while using this computer, Facebook and etc. by somebody else, whereas the different has different meaning. So, now we must see that design and trust factors, how to establish it. In earlier classes also we have mentioned that this type of Mexican grinder, people hold the lid feeling that it may fly off. To give a psychological well feeling, this type of clips may be used to, it will give you a safety feeling. So, the physical presence of something, it gives a meaning. So, now the trust building is that through semiotic inbuilt message ensuring safe operations. In this figure, it sees that a bathroom is seen from inside, where the different types of control knobs are used. Now, how to use it? There is a small notice. Here the instructions is given. Now, if this is at your home, we may not require this, but when it is in a hotel where you do not know who will be the intended user of this, there we may require this type of information. So, easy encoded information inbuilt in this product itself or additional like this information sheet. Proper instruction on how to use is necessary. Trust building towards preventing anticipated problems. Design must fulfill a set of context specific human compatibility factors and gain total trust. Another example, design and trust factor. This is a water dispenser, drinking water dispenser. This is like this way. This is a water dispenser, water bottle is covered with a blue cap, and here so that you can these cups can be thrown here. It may be through physical appearance for psychological well feeling. When it is covered, people will feel that it is safe because it has been taken care. So, with that care, people will drink water, means it is a care feeling. So, this physical presence it gives a psychological well being feeling. Another item for the active function. Now, this is a small tea dispenser on a tea cup or somewhere. So, now this is the cap having a small pipe and here is the sugars are there. So, now the action is that now if we see like this way the activities, so it is placed, then it is placed, then we tilt it. So, this much amount of sugar will be filled in here and then this much sugar will come out from this. So, every time we handle upside down 1 teaspoonful sugar will come out like this. So, the inbuilt message ensuring reliable operations. So, in this by design the reliable operation is maintained. So, it is a trust factor. So, by mistake more sugar will not spill out to this is the case. Now, another aspect is called a figure ground segregation. While designing display, one wants to construct them in such a way that the figure ground organization of the observer would correspond with what is intended. Factors that influence are symmetric patterns tend to be seen as figure over asymmetric ones. A region that is surrounded completely by another tends to be seen as figure and the surrounding region as background. Convex contour tends to be seen as figure in preference to concave encounter. The smaller of two regions tends to be seen as figure and the larger as ground. A region oriented vertically or horizontally will tend to be seen as figure relative to one that is not so oriented. This aspect we will see now through some figures. In this case, what are these figures? Perceptual organization is based on the whole is more important than the sum of the parts, which follow the simplest possible organization. In this, the first step in perceiving a figure requires that it be separated from the background, that is the figure ground organization. That is, in this Rubens vase, where two distinct figures, these two are the distinct figures in black and in between the white space. In this case, white figures with the black space in between, whether in a first glance it appears as a flower vase or it appears two faces, where two distinct figure ground organization are possible. In this aspect, it can be said that now in this, in the black background, this product, this symbol, in white background, this symbol, what it appears? The smaller one is the object and the larger space is the ground. Now, orientation of figures are also important and follows grouping principles. Now, the same thing, same figure is oriented in such a way. Now, here it is very difficult to recognize two faces. In this case also, it is very difficult to recognize the faces. It gives all the black spots as a foreground. In this case, the white spot is the fore. So, now we are coming to grouping principles. How we can group some of the components to have a meaning. There are total 5 items we can say, that is the proximity, similarity, continuity, closure and common fate. In this, the proximity is that proximity display elements that are located close together will tend to be grouped together. Suppose these dots. So, this is the close look, this is a one group, these are the another group. So, like this. Similarity, display elements that are similar in appearance, as for example, shape and color will tend to be grouped together. In this case, either this one makes a group or these ones make a group. So, again it will depend on the space in between. The continuity, figures will tend to be organized along continuous contours. Like these beads, it is placed like this with a small string kind of thing, or the string may not be there. Here in this point area, there is no beads, but only some small marking is there. So, apparently it is one line and this is another line, but it will appear as a single continuity line like this way. So, this is the continuity, though these beads are not here, still it will give you a continuity feeling. So, then the space, closeness and etcetera, it has a meaning in this. Now, closure, gaps in forms will tend to be filled in perceptually, like this is a figure, this area, this area, this area, this area. So, these are the open spaces, but it is arranged in such a way that it gives a total feeling. So, here in these cases it may be there, it may not be there, but still it gives a close feeling. So, this type of appearances has to be used in design. Then common fate, elements with a common motion will tend to be grouped together. Suppose in a machine there are some meters are provided, when and each meter representing the functionality of a machine in a machine array. So, when all the machines are in a good running condition, the needle will be in a 3 o'clock position, but if there is a change means it says that the machine has problem that is related to this symbol. So, by this means the common phase, the elements with a common motion will tend to be grouped together. So, these are all grouped together, but this is the different. So, people will attend to this. Now, differences in orientation, differences in orientation. Differences in orientation of stimuli seems to provide a particularly distinctive basis of grouping, like in this case there are T's and L's. So, this one has a group, this has a group, and this tilted T, this also a group. But in this group, which one draws your first attention when we see this tilted T group more distinctly from upright T than do backward L characteristic? Means first it draws our attention here, then this, because this is unusual. So, to draw some attention, this type of unusual presentation is necessary to be presented, that breaks the harmony. Now, this relation lies behind the customary recommendation that displays for check reading be designed so that the pointers on the dials all have the same orientation when working properly. When something is not right, the pointer on the dial will be at an orientation different from that of the rest of the pointers and will jump out at the operator. So, these are the some basic elements we need to practice in our design, so that we can give our particular attention to the need, and accordingly design features has to be decided and applied. Another, the principles of connectedness. When multiple conflicting regions are present, the smaller enclosing region seems to dominate the organization. For nested consistent regions, the organization appears to be hierarchical. Grouping by common region breaks down when the elements and background region are at different perceived depths, as does grouping by proximity, suggesting that such grouping occurs relatively late in processing after at least some depth perception has occurred. In this figure, we can say that grouping by connectedness and by common region. Now, if we see the earlier slide where we have shown the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 like these groups are there, these groups are there, but now with the color application black and blue like this, either color application or a special mark around this, it makes a specific group within that group region. So, like that, or if the no color or no marking is there, still with a different connectivity lines, maintaining these lines, it gives a connectivity or groupings of the components. Similarly, grouping by similarities, as for example, grouping of tones not only occurs with respect to frequency, but also on the basis of similarities of their spatial positions, similarities in the fundamental frequencies and harmonics of complex tones and so on. So, these are the principles of connectedness and its application feasibility. Another an example, this is a Pond's cold cream. Now, here the thing is that if we see all the products from this angle, from this point, yeah, it is closed. So, the shape remains same, no change. Now, when we tilt the lid for opening it, then the form discontinues. Again the discontinuity of the form, like this way, and when we are closing it, it again the deformity of the forms, it comes to a specific thing. Now, we can ensure that the lid is closed or secured enough. So, like this, with continuity and discontinuity of form, it gives a safety feeling as well. So, in a machine condition, that may be practiced. Based on this, the integral and separable stimuli dimensions criteria, dimensions such as hue, saturation and lightness in any combination or pitch and loudness are classified as integral, and size and lightness or size and angle may be judged as separable. Number 3, the configural dimensions behave much like integral dimensions in speeded classification tasks, although the individual dimensions are still relatively accessible. Like in this example, it can say that these are the lines plus this is the basic form. If these two are connected, then this one appears. Configural discrimination, the top context helps in discriminating the line whose slope is different from the rest. This is the connections. Recent controversy says whether the sets of dimensions described above as integral, that is hues, saturation and brightness, loudness and pitch, are truly integral in the sense of being processed as unitary wholes, or whether the dimensions are still psychologically distinct. Thus, there may not be a fundamental difference between the integral and configural, that is organized dimensions. Spatial orientation. Many sources of information as cues comes into play in the perception of distance and spatial relations, and the consciousness view is that the perceptual system constructs the three-dimensional representation using this information as cues. Like information processing, various depth cues are integrated, and this varied the presence of or absence of 4 cues: relative size, height in the projection plane, interposition and motion parallax. Perception of size is intimately related to perception of distance. When accurate depth cues are present, good size consistency is shown. Rotation of an object in depth does not alter perception of the shape of the object in most cases, a phenomenon called shape consistency. The size, distance and shape slant invariance hypothesis state that size and shape constancy result from being able to scale the retinal image size in relation to change in depth. So, one implication of this view is that size and shape constancy will break down and illusions appear when depth cues are erroneous. Example, information processing and illusion. Here in this conical line, the two circles are same, but appearance wise one appears larger than other. The Ponzo illusion, in which one of the two stimuli of equal physical size appears larger the top circle than another lower circle, that are due to, at least in part, of misleading due to linear perspective cue depth cues. Another, that the Ponzo illusion is like this way. So, within these two parallel lines intersected with different angled lines, here this line appears larger than this one. Why? Though these two lines are the same size. The Ponzo illusion again illustrating the greater perceived length of the more distant bar, role of the size constancy in depth perception in creating illusion. Characteristics of the sensory systems and the principles of perception are accommodated in the designs of displays and the environments in which the humans must work. The transmission of information to the human will be fast and accurate, and the possibility of human error flow. In this, the detection as decision making, there is the expectancy, context, redundancy, repetition and identification. The 3D, that is judgment of 2D and experience. That are two parallel lines, the two perceptual illusions influencing the perception of graphs. Here in this case, these two lines are appearing as narrower here than this other sides, but actually these two are the parallel lines. Painted on the roadway leading to a dangerous obscure curve, drivers tend to reduce their speed before encountering the curve, presumably because the pattern made the road seem more narrow. This is would be an application area. So, in this case, different things, that linear context of common baseline, it gives a continuity, linear context without baseline, comparison of line length along a single axis, comparison of angle, that is pi graphs and etcetera, the large, bigger and smaller, comparison of area, comparison of value and volume, comparison of the hue, like this way. If we write green in green color and blue in different color, in yellow in different color like this way, then what impact it gives while reading this. Like depth perception, 3D perception like this way, the perceptual cues of depth perception. This picture 3D effect on 2D canvas describes cues as, for example, relative size, height in the picture plane, occlusion, motion parallax and redundancy, etcetera. Now, with this we can say that our role to use the above human information, how best we use in design activity, that is our role, and so we need to understand these aspects and righteously we have to use in our design dimensions. So, with this we are concluding today's session, that is a cognitive aspect and mental workload and its design relevancies. In the next session, the class number 27, we will discuss human error and risk perception and its design applications. So, with this we are concluding today's session. So, see you next. Thank you.